Welcome to Flat Revival Radio. In this episode, we're going to be asking the question, do digital three-dimensional environments that strive to simulate reality help prove a flat Earth? I believe that they do, and we're going to be delving into that topic from several different angles. First, I wanted to go over a couple things. Flat Revival Radio chat rules. Everyone is welcome. No wrench needed to chat. Needlessly crude comments will be deleted. Crude chatters will be banned. Wrench Squad, if you're present, anyone can comment. Use your discernment when deleting and banning someone. I also wanted to remind everyone that Flat Revival Magazine is hosting a contest currently, and the winner of the contest will receive publication in issue 1 of Flat Revival Magazine plus 2 t-shirts from flatearthmerch.com. He's doing some really great flat earth concepts, and wearing these shirts out is guaranteed to be a conversation starter. And I highly encourage everyone to check out his collection of tees. It's always being updated with new stuff, and he has some great ideas. Okay, so I have several things I want to get into in regard to video games and their potential role in kind of showing us how this reality works. And after we go through some stuff, I will be taking calls. If anyone wants to jump into the discussion, I hope that you do so. So let's get to it. First, I want to go to, this is an official Unreal Engine website. The Unreal Engine is used by a high percentage of video games, including AAA top tier games. So this is a platform that is used by a lot of companies. And it starts by saying creating massive terrain based worlds for your projects is something that Unreal Engine 4 can do quite well with its built-in terrain editing tools. The landscape tool will allow you to create massive terrain based worlds that can still maintain playable frame rates across a multitude of different devices. But here's what I really want to show you, is how this all starts. In every video game creation, every platform is going to start with exactly this, a gridded, flat surface. This is the game world. This is before anything is laid down. You're going to start with a flat plane. And I think most people realize this is how video games are produced, even if you haven't really thought about it. But I just wanted to show, this is one of the leading engines used in the industry today. And here you go. This is how it starts before you lay anything down in your world. You're starting with a flat surface, a gridded flat plane. So let's move on. This is an article from Time magazine. It starts off with this comparison, video game and photograph. And you can see that it's not necessarily easy to tell the difference. I'm sure without the text component there, people would get this wrong on a percentage. That's where we're at right now with video games. How video game makers create hyper-realistic worlds. Tommy Francois creates worlds, virtual worlds, where gamers can do most of what they can't do in real life. It goes on. First, you can see here, again, this is the San Francisco Bay Bridge, reality versus what video games today are presenting. Um, Building video game environments is a complex and delicate process, Francois tells Time. Realism is a dangerous world. We are making entertainment in fiction, he says. I often look at the worlds we build almost like onion peels. Each peel is a narrative opportunity, and every narrative opportunity is an opportunity for fiction in characterizing either your characters, your stories, or your systems. So clearly here he's more referencing the plot, the storytelling aspect of creating a video game. But this is what I really want to get to here, and the point I want to make. The development process behind these games begins months before Ubisoft writes its first line of code. Francois hand selects a strike team of writers, photographers, journalists, and developers to learn everything they can about the settings of a game. Some game environments are an amalgamation of multiple real-world locations, while others are directly based on specific cities or regions. For Francois, that research is key to creating original gaming experiences. Next, a smaller team is sent on a series of weeks-long trips to gather footage and experience these places firsthand. As much as I hate an airport, even 10 seconds in an airport is worth infinite time on Wikipedia, he says. The rhythm, the smell, the signs, the people, the colors, all this stuff, you just can't get any other way. For the recently released Tom Clancy Ghost Recon Wildlands, when the team arrived in Bolivia, they discovered that the buses have oxygen masks to help tourists cope with the high altitude. They also found that instead of coffee, residents commonly chew cocoa leaves, which also serves as a cure for high altitude sickness. To supplement that experience, Francois' strike teams takes hundreds of thousands of pictures and hundreds of hours of video. They conduct interview with locals and record sounds. All of that information is then entered into a digital database called the WTF, which stands for World Texture Facility. Back at the Ubisoft offices, this information is used as reference material by the game developers, with Francois working closely alongside them as they shape their worlds over the course of several years' development. And that's, it really boils down to this. This is how serious and how committed these studios are and these teams of people are to creating the worlds they create. Whether you're a gamer or not, you have to recognize where we started with video games, which were basically just dots on the screen, just pixels on a screen. And in our lifetimes, I've gone from Atari in my youth, which again was just dots on the screen, to what we see now, which is almost photorealistic simulations, open world, vast open worlds. This is how much care that these creators put into creating something that our brains perceive as a real experience, as reality. And they put a lot of effort into this. I want to dive into, or at least show you a little bit of what the Just Cause 3 world is like. And this is, I play a little bit. I don't have as much time these days as I used to, but I do like to play some games. And these worlds are getting so impressive. It's kind of mind-blowing. So if you're not familiar, if you don't know much about games, or you just don't know about Just Cause, I wanted to show a little bit of what this game world is. And there's a couple of bona fide uber nerds here. They're going to present some of this game world to you, and we'll just we'll skip around. I just want you to get a sense of how large, how completely epic this is.
We don't just want to see clouds and, you know,
Absolutely.
and blue. So I am going to encourage Dave to kind of dip down below the line of, you know, visibility, so we get to see some of what's on the ground as well.
You can be my altimeter, as it were.
Not your co-pilot. I can be an instrument.
Yeah, exactly. So goodbye,
no idea who
safe,
these guys were.
lovely oil rig, and
It's not that sad,
onward.
Just blown it to bits and
show
it's all on fire.
Look at that mountain. We're going over the mountain. So yeah, you can see that waypoint I've set is 23 kilometers away.
That's and it's not, you know, it's not going down that quick.
It's not.
It's a long way away, and that's not the bottom of the map either, right? That's
no, that's just that first bit.
So, could you go quite close to the surface of the mountain without crashing?
Yeah, I'll do my best.
And can you give us some nice views to the sides as well, please?
No, you can't. Not in a helicopter.
Can you only look forward?
You can only look forwards.
Interesting.
If I turn, so with the right stick, it sort of swivels.
Okay, because it's all controlled.
With the left stick, you get more of a kind of a bank.
All right, but are you
this is just
adjusting the?
Again,
so I can't look around the helicopter.
Can you look down?
I can look down.
And
can you look down and
where they're at now?
To avoid being okay.
I can.
Okay, so we can look at
really
some stuff.
does.
Okay.
Aerial
impressive.
assassination.
Oh,
kind of
we'll resist
right
this
now.
time.
This could happen
So
in such
here we
a
are at
short
Grand
period.
Pastura.
It's like being
So let's just skip through this.
with that is that it will slowly
Just
slide
to
down
give
the
you
side
a
of the
sense.
mountain.
Oh look, but there's the whole
scale
other. I
of
mean,
this
maybe we'll
game
just.
Are
It'll
we
just
above
be
the
enough
rain?
to come. I
Hundreds
think the
of
rain has
meters
just stopped.
up
I
into
think
the sky.
That's good.
the north is more wet.
And
I
don't
think.
forget,
It's got its own.
This also
What's that down
we
there? They
showed
say
you
That's a bad base.
bad
A bad
base.
mountain base.
how this
I mean,
all starts.
there must be a villain
it's
that
flat
lives there,
grid.
because that's who
It's
lives
a flat
in mountain
plane
bases.
that
It
they
is indeed.
build
So
this
can we
game world
stay
on.
with the level of the mountain to some extent?
We
as
can.
we go
They do
down.
that.
I've just
Otherwise, everything's
paused.
going to be so
Why
far
would-
away.
So you can see we're headed over
A
here.
game
Yeah.
studio that is.
It looks nice,
ultimate
man.
To our
goal is
left,
to make your brain believe
There
that
is.
you're in a
These
real
are the
environment.
starting islands.
Why
I think
do
maybe
they
even
start
that one
with the
down there.
flat
That might be
plane?
our ultimate destination.
Do you know, we were
most of
saying
you
in that
know
other
the
video
answer
just
to
how
that,
blue it
but I
looks and
just,
how,
you know, I want to
sunny and blue.
really
It
nail
looks
it
nice.
down
Look at this
here.
little mountain lake.
That
Very
Oh,
nice.
these games
imagine
today
finding
are
that on
starting to
holiday.
prove
I'd
I don't know
love
what
to.
you'd be doing up a mountain.
quite well.
Okay, we'll stay with the mountain.
Let's keep
Look at the blue.
speeding
You're
ahead
absolutely
here
right
and
about
see
that,
what
this
else they
sort
have
of-
to show us. Hey, look at
That
that.
blue is just.
Everything looks right.
Like the
If
design.
it didn't
I'm glad
look
you're not
right,
blowing
your
up these
brain would
pictures. I mean, that's really. I
constantly
mean, I don't know
I
if
saw
anyone
a
would
small
actually.
red
You
car
wouldn't be
that
able
was
to-
going
you wouldn't
along.
be
I
able
didn't
to
think.
immerse
I thought that
into
was a
the
bit.
game.
I mean, I
If
could.
it didn't look right to
Sun
your
on the
eye,
water.
if something was off about this reality or this simulation of reality,
Good timing.
it would distract
Oh,
you from the gameplay.
It's
Oh,
too
which is
it's
what
strong.
it's all
It's
about.
made it.
And that's the last
Look,
thing these
you're so mean.
game
This isn't getting
creators
across
want.
the-
So they're
Oh.
going to do
Don't worry about
everything
that.
they can
Right, onwards.
Oh,
So look,
Jesus.
wow, there's a
Suspend your
whole other
disbelief
sort of
to
mountainous
immerse
region
you
there.
in
There's like a
that
little
world.
town tucked there, little beach
And
town.
you're seeing it. Look at what
romantic
they're able to
getaway.
achieve.
I've been better. Look at that.
Here we
What's
go.
that? That's a bad place.
Yeah, that's a bad place. And look at the water.
Do you know, if you'd nailed it first time, I'd have been very impressed.
So there you go.
Yeah.
Look at the
Well, I
physics.
impressed you
Look
enough
at
in the
how
first
much they
town.
put into
This,
the physics
I love
of
this
water.
water.
Look at
It's
that
got real
effect.
like texture about it. Like I can see that I'm going to
My-
do little
my
jumps
point
and
with
stuff.
all
You
of
really
this
wanna
is
be in
look
the
at the
water?
care that goes
Yes.
into
Oh
creating
yes, look at that. That's some
this
good air.
simulation, this
Some
reality.
good
Who's
air.
this?
It's
I'm
meant
going
to
to destroy them with
completely-
my boat.
Your brain is
This
supposed,
was supposed to be a
accept
friendly
this,
tour of the map.
so
Yeah.
you can play
You've
the
turned it
game
into something quite
and
different.
be
I
immersed.
think, you know.
And they do a
This is what
fantastic
people want
job
to
of
see.
that. And look at how
Shall I
flat
destroy
it
the
is.
jet ski? Obviously.
Just see if you can run him over.
There's
Oh,
no curvature
my.
here.
He's still
They're
there.
not
He's
He's
still
fine.
alive.
building
He-
any
he's probably
curvature
angry.
into
I think
this
he's
game.
been,
It's
horribly
400 square miles
injured by my
of
boat?
playable
Propellers
Your
there.
entire boat?
that
Let's
this
see if
game
I
Are
can
you
go up.
beaching this?
Hello.
Oh wow. Okay.
And there is not a single
Let's see
ounce
if I
of
can get up to
curvature,
the-
I
to the-
guarantee
let's see what
you,
you're made
in the
of.
entire thing. And it all looks right to
Okay.
the human eye.
One.
It all,
Not brilliant. Here we go. Come
okay.
on.
there's nothing
Okay.
that feels off to us about it.
I've got
Panic
my
smashing of the
buttons
buttons.
just confused there.
Well,
So let's move on. I think we've seen enough of that. I wanted to touch briefly on just another little component I picked up on while I was playing this game. Something that I was impressed by. That clearly they've looked at something, they've studied it, and they tried to replicate it. So just watch this quick little clip. okay. And this is all I wanted to show. And the reason I wanted to show it is when I first saw it in the game, when I first did it, and this thing exploded the way it did, and there's this kind of whistling sound, and then the metal was all torn and jagged, and it was kind of this instant reaction that happened. And I recognized it. I've seen it before. I can't recall where. When something explodes, when a metal object like this explodes internally from some internal kind of force, if they've captured it. It fools your senses. It makes you feel like this is happening, that it's real. And it's just another point I want to show, that this is the kind of care that they put into creating these experiences. They want you to feel immersed in a reality simulation. That's their whole objective, and they're paid to do that, to capture that. And I think it's quite impressive what they've achieved. And it reveals something about our own reality. So let's move forward. Next up, I know it's Elon Musk. It's the owner of FakeX, and you're probably wondering why I would introduce this asshat. None of us are very fond of this guy, but there is a point. I want to, this idea about a simulation, about video games, it's something I'm sure most of you have heard him talk about or know that he's talked about, and I just kind of I want to touch on it real quickly.
So the idea is, right, any sufficiently advanced civilization could create a simulation that's like our existence, and so the theory follows that maybe we're in the simulation. Have you thought about this? And
a lot.
Are we
even in hot tubs? So much so it had to be banned from a hot tub.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not the sexiest conversation.
Are we in?
I think here's, the strongest argument for us being in a simulation, probably being in a simulation, I think is the following. That 40 years ago, we had Pong, like 2 rectangles and a dot. That was what games were. Now, 40 years later, we have photorealistic 3D simulations with millions of people playing simultaneously, and it's getting better every year. And soon we'll have virtual reality, we'll have augmented reality. If you assume any rate of improvement at all, then the games will become indistinguishable from reality. Just indistinguishable. Even if that rate of advancement.
Key point. He just said it. And again, this isn't a guy, I don't respect necessarily what he has to say about things. I'm not saying Elon Musk is some kind of authority we should listen to. I'm just saying mainstream and they're presenting this concept, and again, I'm leading up to a point, but I just wanted to stop there and say, listen to those words. Indistinguishable. They're going to be able to create digital environments that are indistinguishable from reality.
Advancement drops by 1,000 from what it is right now. Then you just say, okay, well, let's imagine it's 10,000 years in the future, which is nothing in the evolutionary scale. So given that we're clearly on a trajectory to have games that are indistinguishable from reality, and those games could be played on any set-top box or on a PC or whatever, and there would probably be, billions of such, computers or set-top boxes, it would seem to follow that the odds that we're in base reality is 1 in billions.
So
tell me what's wrong with that argument.
Is the answer yes?
The argument is probably. But I just like, is there a flaw in that argument?
I mean, someone.
I'm not sure what the error.
No.
Okay, so this is kind of what I want to I want to get at here is that even mainstream, even if you're a spinning ball believer, uh, the scientism talking heads are presenting the concept that it is even likely, it is more likely that you're living in some kind of video game type simulation than that you're some kind of unique, separate reality, right? This is a very popular idea right now, and Elon Musk is leading the charge in that kind of in that thinking. But my point is, if they're willing, if these are people who want you to believe in the spinning ball, in the globe, and they're saying that it's more than likely that we're in some kind of video game simulation, and then you go back what we just went over, how are video games produced? How are they representing reality? They're starting with the flat plane, right? If we go back to the Unreal Engine, correct? This is what you start with. It's a flat plane. This is how you create reality. So if these leading so-called leading thinkers of today, of mainstream, that a lot of people feel are some of the smartest there are, and they're saying that we could be living in a video game type simulation reality, and this is how video games are produced, 100% flat, and they mimic reality quite well, they trick the brain, they create an immersive experience, then isn't it possible, when you look at a game like Just Cause 3, that's providing you with 400 square miles of open world to explore, that this is telling us something, that this is just more evidence that indeed we do live on a flat plane. And I'd really like to hear from some other people on this topic. I think it's a valid topic, and I think it's something that flat earthers should explore and maybe invest into. What if we intentionally tried to create, let's try to create a globe simulation. What would things actually look like if we lived on a sphere, the way mainstream scientism wants us to believe? If we created a 2-scale 3D simulation of living on a ball, would things look right? Or would it be like a circus? Would it be like an acid trip of some kind? And this is, I think we should explore this. It might be worth investing in, let's create a comparative, let's create a flat earth simulation, 2-scale, something, and they're already doing it in video games. I mean, 400 square miles is enough distance for us to know that this is mimicking reality. It works. It's if there needed, if it was a curve, if there were curvature, they would need to implement that into the game design, because if they didn't and that was reality, something would look off to us, and it doesn't. Everything looks exactly as it should. It all works. So why don't we work on creating a 3-dimensional flat earth simulation, which would, in my opinion, completely mimic reality and be immersive like most video games are today. And then let's create a comparative globe model, 3D simulation of what things would be like on a ball, 2-scale. What would it look like if you went up in a hot air balloon on a spherical Earth? The horizon wouldn't rise to eye level, would it? You would have to start looking down at that horizon. And I think if you have a 3D simulation that shows this, where people could go in and be like, and see, oh, this is how weird everything would look on the ball. Doesn't that make sense? Let's show that. I don't know how possible that is. I'm not a programmer. I know that creating something on that scale, when we're talking the scale of the entire, what they tell us is the circumference of the Earth, that could be problematic. That takes a lot of computational power. But if you kept it simple, it doesn't have to be detailed like these video games. It doesn't have to have all these textures. If you just kept it simple so you could just see the perspective, so we could just see what it would be like to look out at the horizon on a ball to the scale that they tell us, and what it would look like if you rose up to 100,000 feet on that ball with a two-scale design 3D simulation. Isn't that going to show us something? Isn't that going to prove something? And you have to ask, why aren't they producing a globe simulation? At this point, there should be some kind of globe simulation to scale, but there isn't. They're not going to do that because it won't look right. So, that's my point. I'm hoping it's really all I wanted to present. I think it's a compelling and interesting line of thought, and I think it's something that could, if people could experience these two alternative models in a two-scale simulation, I think it would reveal a lot. And, if anybody would like to call in, the number's on the screen. I'd love to discuss this idea with other people. And just as a reminder, issue 1 of Flat Revival magazine is due to hit September 2017. Working diligently on it now. We've still got some stuff coming in, a lot of great content already. And we're always looking for more. Anyone who knows anyone that creates content and is a flat earther or sees the world from that perspective, it doesn't necessarily have to be directly about flat earth, because this topic is larger than that. It's not just about the shape of the earth, it's about how it changes the way you perceive reality. And if you've come to flat earth, you've probably in the process come to a great many things about what this world is and what it isn't. And a lot of topics fall under that umbrella. So this magazine wants to explore all of those things. It wants to present material that engages people that have come to that level of understanding. So it's not just about every single thing has to be flat earth, flat earth, flat earth. It's about this bigger awareness that kind of grows out of the flat earth realization. So I encourage anyone who's going through this experience of having to let go of so much of what we were taught and trying to reground yourself and how difficult that can be, and having to reassess your connections to other people and where you place value and don't place value. It's a challenging thing, and I think we can all gain a lot by sharing, by writing about it, by producing art, and putting it in print. It's a statement. I respect everything that's going on online, of course. The internet is being permeated with flat earth awareness all the time as we speak. It's been incredible to watch over the past 2 to 3 years how this has grown. But we keep stepping forward. Let's get it out into the physical world. Let's get it in print. Let's get it in front of people in ways that aren't expected. So this magazine hopes to do that. I want you all to be a part of it. It's for us. It's by us. And there it is. Again, if you would like to call in and talk about this video game simulation idea, I'd love to hear from you. Um, in the meantime, let's let's look at some memes I've found over the past week or two. This one killed me, literally. It's all garbage, and I mean anyone familiar with Sesame Street knows this guy always pops out of a trash can. Uh, so there's just something that really caught me about this one. It made me laugh, and that's always good. I think the best way to connect with people is through humor. It's usually why comedy is the only place you can tell the truth. If you make people laugh, you can get away with actually laying some truth down. And I think that's why there's a lot of power in memes. Um, this is another topic of conversation. I mean, I think this is a laundromat. I'm not quite sure exactly, but this person took a photo of some stickers. I don't know if they put them there, they were there, but this is a whole different. Is that should flat Earth put stickers on public things or do things that might some might consider vandalism or whatever. I love graffiti. Most people I know loves graffiti, especially in the natural environment, where it's meant to be on a building somewhere. When it's done the way it should be done, I don't have any problem with it myself, but I understand that it could be considered a negative, and I'm curious what other people think about that. If that's crossing a boundary or it's fair game for flat Earth. Um, yeah, I find that to be quite an interesting topic. And then there's always the people who just go all out on their vehicles. And this is, for some reason, or I've always been surprised that more people don't do custom things to their cars. But, there's the whole resale value joke. The moment you buy it, it's not worth half what you paid for it, but people spend years like taking care of these. My mom was one of these people who just meticulously cared for her vehicles, and she had this Pontiac Grand Am, purple Pontiac Grand Am. She took care of it for years. This thing was in pristine condition, and then one day in a parking lot it burned to the ground, like just literally burned to the ground. So I don't know, it's a perfect metaphor to me. Why not use your car to say something about who you are, and in this case spread a little flat earth awareness. I've always really liked that. I thought this was pretty clever. Reflections on a curved surface, pretty clear. Reflections on a flat surface. Everyone has experienced both of these things, and it kind of boggles my mind that someone can think back or literally in the moment be experiencing a flat body of water that extends 4 miles in front of them, and to see a reflection like this that can be nothing but a completely flat surface. There is no curvature there. Curvature would create distortion in the reflection, and it is an exact replica. Just open your eyes and see it. See this. It's right there. It's always been right there. What upsets me, I guess, sometimes is that I didn't see it myself. Like many people that have come to Flat Earth, someone else kind of woke me up out of it, shook me a little. Something connected with me and got me thinking about it. I didn't come to it myself. And I guess that's okay. I appreciate that somebody put the idea, that got it out there and put it in front of people. But when I see something like this, it makes me wonder, where was I? What was I doing? I must have been asleep, because I didn't see it for myself, even though I grew up in natural environment. I grew up in places where I got to see this bottom photo. I've been there. I've been in places like this many times, and it never occurred to me. It's beautiful. Um, this, I don't know how many of you have seen Princess Bride. It was, I have a soft spot for this movie, but I think Guerrilla America made this one. Check him out on Twitter, Guerrilla America. He produces a lot of great stuff. Um, my name is Inigo Montoya. The earth is flat. Prepare to die. And I don't know, there's something about that that, anytime I catch something that makes me chuckle or hits a kind of a nostalgia spot in a new way, I think it's great. I love seeing the creativity. Yeah, great movie, great meme. The moon only illuminates clouds local to it, which would be impossible if it were 238,000 miles away. That makes sense. The same is true for the sun. How can a sun 93 million miles away create a hotspot on clouds? It can't. It cannot. You can justify it any way you want, but that is not how things work. It is never how it will work. And finally, here's a couple I made, going off the concept that, what's going to happen when this really comes to a head, when it's finally understood by the majority that there's this thing called scientism that is completely separate from science. This distinction it causes a lot of harm in the flat earth community because it's difficult to express or to explain to the average person who hasn't been immersed in this stuff, who hasn't spent a lot of time thinking about it, that there are two separate entities. There's scientism and there is science. And flat earth people are absolutely 100% in tune with science. Okay? We understand what that means. We understand what that process is about. That you go into something without any assumptions, and you take whatever the observations and the facts tell you, and then you create a theory based on that. You don't go in with an assumption and then shape everything around it. And this is what scientism does. It starts with the assumption that we're on this cartoon spinning ball of water in outer space, gravity's holding it all together, and everything erupts from that idea. It has to start there for scientism. If you're in that club, it has to start with the spinning ball and that assumption. So I create what's going to happen to these guys when it's over. And it is over. I mean, it's already over. It's not official yet. So are these going to be the new homeless guys? What's going to happen to them? I mean, I guess it's kind of wishful thinking, but there you have it. Again, anyone who'd like to discuss the concept that modern video game simulations that have these vast open worlds are helping prove the flat earth, please call in. And I think I already went over, we got the contest going. Please spread the word on that. Anyone who is a content creator, I really encourage you to get involved and produce something. Get it in this flagship issue of Flat Revival magazine. And I think that's about all I've got. I presented the information I wanted to present, and I was hoping for some discussion, but that's how it goes. And I thank everyone for dropping in, and I am going to be connecting with D Marble again. We had some horrible audio problems the first time around, and I should have pulled the plug. I don't think he couldn't be aware of it on his end. He was on the phone. He didn't hear what I tried to power through it. I probably should have just said, "Hey, we need to reschedule this." But we're going to hang out again. We're going to cover a lot of great things. And I do apologize for that audio problem if you were there for that. And I thank you for dropping by.